Hey, storytelling Ron. So I'm going to talk about this video here. I love Charlie Kirk. What he's doing is totally awesome. And obviously he's doing this whole Cambridge thing, and I was listening to the video, and I just got really annoyed. And another video he's done, and I got really annoyed by, his response. I mean, he knows. I mean, he's good at what he's doing, but there's just a couple of things that he's done that I just want to add to or expound on, and in my frustration. At what the left continually does to argue against us, the tools they use the D&D spell vicious mockery quite a bit, and so it's a biblical mocking and scoffing. And I want to just respond to this one guy, or I might do some other ones. I'm just when Charlie Kirk is being bombarded by continual left-wing deception, platitudes, vicious mockery, passive aggressive. That is the worst, and they get under my skin. They get me totally riled up. I would lose my cool. Charlie Kirk has to remain calm, cool, and collective. I would lose it. I'm staying safe in my little room here, so I obviously am quite aware. But I want to go over what this guy here did to Charlie, and the guy wins on performance, on acerbic wit, on vicious mockery, which is what these people want, and what secularists and atheists and the left want. They want to clap to the vicious mockery, and Charlie's trying to keep it respectful, but he's trying to also fight back, and that's tough in this environment. So, but let's just go through some stuff here that I hope can educate you and me about what they do, what they say continually over and over, and it comes down to such simple responses. But let's just go over this real quick. Okay, let me see. I hope I do this correctly. Anyway, here, I don't know if you can see the full title. It's under here. Let me just, this little twat really annoys the hell out of me. Just his look, his demeanor, everything. Okay, let me see here.
And the final question that we've got time for today is...
Oh, let me get the sound better. Okay. I need my headphones, of course. Okay, here we go.
From Sammy McDonald from St John's College.
Sammy McDonald. So look at his hairdo. That takes a lot of work to do that, to make it look like you're not doing anything with it. And I look at the pouting lips. This is just to me like a warning sign of demonic crap, or just a twat, basically. He's got his phone ready. He's prepared for this. I mean, you got to be prepared. I guess that's what they do. They debate, they mock, they scoff, they work on acerbic wit, on vicious mockery. And Charlie Kirk doesn't know what the questions are going to be, right? I'm assuming this is the...
Good evening, Mr. Kirk. You've obviously devoted a lot of your life to electing, keeping in power Donald Trump, and you did so...
No. He devotes his life to conservatism and pushing that. Trump is just a great focal point of it right now, I guess, but that's not everything, that is not what he's focused his life on. So that right there is a false premise. But he's trying to set that up as turning Kirk into, that was a passive aggressive, demeaning thing to say, to put sort of Charlie into this sort of corner like that. But that's what you plan. You work on that. That's your strategy.
Partly because you said Trump would put Americans first and take them out of foreign conflicts. Should we see how that is going at the moment?
Yeah. Okay. So
currently, Trump has just accepted a $400 million debt from Qatar, which we're assured is perfectly above board. Billions.
So that right there is ridiculous. The jet. That's for. There's many reasons. First off, they couldn't even get the jet that they ordered from the American makers, and the jet that they're getting from Qatar is an American-made jet, and it was donated. Yeah, sure, country is going to donate it, but it was donated for the Air Force One. It wasn't donated to Trump himself. He can't use it now. What he thinks is, he might be able to use it for his library in the far future, but that's really based on whether the next president wants to keep this one or I think Trump is just expecting that the next president, if it becomes a Democrat, he's going to want to trash this plane and get rid of it, and do some sort of corrupt bribery thing to get a new plane. Anyway, I mean, that's speculation on my part, but Trump is not going to be able to get Air Force One if it's needed by another president, or if it's requested by the next president or the next cabinet or whatever. But it's just another thing of just him, an idea of his. It has nothing. Trump can say a bunch of ideas. That doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. And we all know that, and so does Trump. But this guy doesn't care about that, obviously. He doesn't care about his hair. Well, he does care a lot about his hair, but he wants you to think he doesn't care about his hair, even though he spends a lot of time getting that hair to do what it does anyway.
In arms are going to Saudi Arabia, which they're using to bomb and starve Yemeni children. Not sure how that's in the interest of the United States, but it might be in the interest.
It is not in the interest of the United States. For you to say that it is ridiculous. If they're bombing Yemeni children, I seriously doubt they're bombing Yemeni children. They're probably bombing the enemies of their state. They're probably bombing terrorists. And Islam, he's going to keep doing this too, because he is a capitulator to Islam. He will take a knee to terror and to Islam, this little twat right here. The reason he will is because he's already doing it. Islam will throw its children in the front of bullets and bombs to get them to die, so that twats like this, because they know twats like this are the ones they need to undermine Christianity and Jesus Christ in the West. They must, because twats like this, pagans, love human sacrifice for their agenda, and they will use the children of Muslims to do it. The more in Gaza, in Yemeni, wherever, if they can get their children killed and then videoed, and then given as reports to twats like this, they will use that to then stop and bludgeon Americans or whatever we're doing in the world. And as far as the Yemeni thing, I don't know anything about. I mean, I understand Saudi Arabia will bomb and fight whoever they think is threatening their regime, and I understand that their regime is horrible. But we don't have any other choice. I mean, the British didn't. The British are the ones that solidified these princes, right? Way back when they started oil productions in the 20th century or whatever it was. I'm glad that they ended the slavery that they had in the 20th century, right? They had public open auctions for slaves in the 20th century, in the 1960s, I believe. The British thankfully did tell them to end that so that they could start opening businesses with them, and that's from Britain. I understand. Let's continue on.
Of the $5.5 billion deal his failed sons are receiving. At the same,
his sons are receiving $5.5 billion deals from where? Let me look that up. I'm going to pause this and look that up. What kind of deals they're getting? Okay, well, it says here, and I can't find any articles on Donald Trump Jr. getting anything. It just says there are no specific deals mentioned involving Donald Trump Jr. However, President Donald Trump signed a strategic economic partnership with Saudi Arabia. I guess whatever positive thing we do is going to be blamed on, anything that right, anything that they want. What did he say?
Take them out of foreign conflicts. Should we see how that is going at the moment? Currently, Trump has just accepted a $400 million debt from Qatar, which we're assured is...
I think jet from Qatar. I think he sounds like he said debt, but jet.
Perfectly above board. Billions in arms are going to Saudi Arabia, which they're using to bomb and starve Yemeni children.
Using to bomb... That's what he goes to. Using to bomb Yemeni children. That's what he goes to. Like, that's really what they're doing. We got these freaking F-22s. Let's go bomb some children in Yemen. That's what they're doing. See, that's what that's the level of idiocy that this guy's just doing. He's just brandishing a fire sword with no reason, rhyme or reason. Doesn't even know how to swing it.
Not sure how that's in the interest of the United States.
But he's doing it as vicious mockery. I'm not sure if that's the interest of the U.S.
States, but it might be in the interest of the five.
So they're killing children. I don't know how that's the interest of the U.S. That's the vicious mockery that he's purposely doing that. There's no. Saudi Arabia has the policy of bombing children now, and we thank the Americans for giving us enough bombs to bomb the children of Yemen. That's when I would say, we probably shouldn't be doing that. But his accusation, granted, it could be happening because of whatever military reactions, whatever's going on there. That's obviously an Islamic horror. But for him to just come out and say this, which is what they do, it's just his whole intent here is vicious mockery. He's casting his spells. This little twat with his hairdo is casting his vicious, and I think his face is in that permanent sneer with a lip pout. I think that's a permanent thing, because of, you know, his inner core, his heart.
$5.5 billion deal his fail sons are receiving.
So his fail sons are receiving $5.5 billion deal. I don't know. I couldn't get the AI to find it. So
at the same time, this great president of peace.
And I don't think he had the same complaint now with the Bidens and their whole family who have no experience. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump have experience developing properties globally, and they've done it before. And even I guess they survived under Biden. I think they did. They barely survived under Biden. I'm sure, not barely, but they did. But they've certainly been under scrutiny. And now that Trump's in office, I think that they're not going to be attacked for doing what they do successfully. And of course, anything they do. Now, remember when Trump got into office the first time, the Democrats screamed at Eric Trump because he had a cancer foundation for children, like at a hospital he did every year. It was like a big music thing. And he raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for them every year. And they forced him to cancel it because of the corruption of it. So he had to cancel getting hundreds of thousands of dollars a year at an event he did at a cancer hospital for children, because the Democrats screaming and gnashing their teeth like this twat. Okay.
Has greenlit mass killings not just in Yemen but in Gaza, where he greenlit an invasion called Operation Gideon's Chariot with the express aim of wiping out the Gazan population. You promised to put America first.
Okay, there's no express aim of wiping out. Wait, let me go back. Let me go back to that.
But it might be in the interest of the $5.5 billion deal his fail sons are receiving. At the same time, this great president of peace has greenlit mass killings not just in Yemen but in Gaza, where he greenlit an invasion called Operation Gideon's Chariot.
So he's going to go on and on about the killing of children in Gaza, and the absurdity of it is so difficult for me. I don't, here I am already mocking his thing, but he's accusing Israel. I'm assuming this is what he's talking about, the Gideon. He's accusing them of killing Gazan children. That's it, what he just goes to. Look at these children. I mean, that's what the Muslims do, right? They kill their children, they get them to get bombed, and then look at these children. Look at these children. That's what he does. He's doing the exact same thing. He is propping up the death of children for his agenda, for his vicious mockery. He is propping all this up for his vicious mockery, the death of children. He doesn't care about the actual death of children. He's obviously an abortionist. He believes in sexual exploitation of young girls, manipulating. He doesn't believe in marriage and dedicating your life. A young man and a young woman dedicating their lives to each other and the children thereof. He doesn't believe in that. He believes in sexually exploiting if he can, when he can, however he can.
With the express aim of
while masturbating to porn.
Wiping out the Gazan population. You promised to put America.
Okay, no one's wiping out the Gazan population. The Gazans and the Palestinian protesters are actually saying from the river to the sea to wipe out the Jews. That's what they're actually saying. Whereas the Jews and the Americans are not saying let's wipe out the Gazans. Now we are saying it's not working. We are saying that this is not working and we got to change it. And we got to change it. And they want to get rid of the power structure of Hamas there and stop it. But they don't have a desire to actually kill everyone. They would like them to go to Muslim countries where they would actually be, I guess, welcomed, right? Because wouldn't they be welcomed in all of these sort of 60 Islamic regimes that have no freedom at all? For Christians and for twats like that, wouldn't they all just accept these Gazans and get them out of this horrible war-torn rubble that they have completely annihilated and destroyed, when it could be like this Mediterranean, vacation resort, if only, but it won't be because the Hamas and the Gazans voted in the Hamas, and then of course there's no more elections, and now the Gazans and the Hamas just rule with tyranny and terror. And this is what he supports. And here's the thing. I'm just going to cut right to it because he keeps saying it over and over that he's going to say it at the end here. I kind of want to jump back to where he says it at the very end. He says the same thing. killing women and children, killing women and children. You're killing. That's all he's got. You're killing women and children. You're killing. Well, at least I'm not killing women and children. You're killing women. That's all he's got. And I'm like, he is taking a knee to terrorism. October 7th, and he calls it genocide too, by the way. October 7th is a genocide. That is a genocide. A genocide is when one side is not even aware of what's going on, and then the other side attacks and slaughters the civilians. They go after the men, women, and children who are defenseless, and they went after the women and raped them, and then they brutally raped them, and then they filmed it, and then they would look on the phones and send it to their family members or whoever. They want you to see their terror, brutally raping and then murdering the women, torturing them to death. And they're all taking like these coke pills too. The Palestinian terrorists were taking these cocaine-like pills, these drugs, so they were crazed. And that's a pagan thing right there. That's the whole ritual of paganism that I even portray in there, but at a PG version of it. But they were on drugs, and they were going in to murder and slaughter people purposely. And that's a genocide. That is actually genocide. What the Israelis did is not a genocide. What the Israelis did was a war. And this twat doesn't want them to fight a war after they have been genocided. Because a war, you go in, just like Britain did against Germany, and so did the US against Germany and Japan. You go in and you fight to win the war. And if the evil is going to put their women and children in the front of it, you have to shoot through them to kill the enemy. Islam wants that, and this guy is the twat that follows Islam. Because Islam will put up their women and children to die. We put our children and women in the back as we stand up in front. That's what Christians do. Not this twat. No, not him. He screams and hollers, look, the Muslims are holding up their children and you're shooting them. You know, they put their guns and their weapons behind their children and then shoot at us. And then this twat, but the only reason they do it is because this twat is their little witch, their little hag, the little shaman, who's going to call out the Christ followers because of what the evil does. This is the twat. This is the kind of people that need to be utterly rebuked in the West. Twats like this need to be they need to be bullied. They need to be bullied. They need to be pushed around. They need to be rebuked openly. And I'm, in my little channel here where I don't care about him or whatever, or he doesn't care about me. So what? I'm going to tell you, you need to rebuke twats like this that come on and the children are getting killed. The children are getting killed because the Muslims are holding them up behind their guns. And this guy knows it, but he doesn't care because he's one of the evil ones. He's definitely not of the chosen. And I'm going to pray, I'm not a good Christian. I admit it, but I don't want to pray for this guy at all. I want to pray that God will bring him justice. That's actually a good prayer. God, bring this idiot, this twat, full justice, what he fully deserves. And if that means converting him to Christianity, fine. Well, another Russell Brand, I guess. But I consider this guy a twat because of the way he says what he says. I'm going to keep going. Let's go.
First, haven't you and your ilk sold America out?
Haven't you and your ilk sold America out? Well, everything he said there was a lie. Was a wrong premise, a wrong conclusion. The Saudi Arabians are not taking the 6 billion military and then sending it to bomb Yemeni children. We must look around for children in Yemeni and bomb them. Yahoo! Let's have a trophy and awards for that. I understand that they're oppressive. I understand that they're whatever. But that's the devil we made. This crown prince or royal prince or whatever the heck it is, these Muslim princes. I get it, but there's nothing else we can do about it. We can't go in and just start bombing them because of twats. We could actually defeat them, and we don't even have to use war. We could actually defeat them, but twats like you are propping up Islam. Twats like you would rather fight Christians doing the right thing, declaring war against genociders and terrorists, than actually fighting the terrorists themselves. You would rather let the terrorists, they did a bad thing, but let's not respond with a war. Let's go ahead and let's talk it out with them as they slaughter and rape and kill. And maybe that'll give them even more power, because if you try to fight them with a war and declare war on them, I'm going to complain. I'm going to mock and scoff and use vicious mockery against you for daring to kill their children that they let prop up in front of their guns. Okay? I'm just going to do that. I don't know why I'm using that voice, but I am. It's not his. Did you see that? What? Look at that. Look at his little, that's, I've seen that in movies where they show those sort of weaselly characters. You know, they do something, they stab you in the back, and then they back off, they hide in the crowd, and that, did you see that? Let me go back.
First, haven't you and your ilk sold America out?
Did you see that? So, you know, watch this. Look at these guys. Yeah, he got him there. He got him there. Look at that. Look how happy she is. Oh, look at these. They're so happy that they live in these, they cherish these lies against Christ. And you know, and the Jews, I'm including the IDF and all that in this, because it was a genocide against, it's hilarious. These people would be at that concert. That concert was a concert for peace, and that's why it was close to Palestine. Those were Palestinian supporters. I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, I don't wish what happened to them, but they were Palestinian peace supporters having a hippie concert, dancing around like hippies, you know, for peace. And I guess they're not. I think maybe they're conservative now, the ones that survived. Hundreds of them died, right? So these are the kind of people that would be at that concert, enjoying themselves. Look at that face. That's so happy. She's so happy. He's like, oh yeah, my twat is over there is twatting. All right.
No. Well, I'm glad you have great intellectual substance and can answer.
See? Ooh, acerbic wit, vicious mockery. Everything he said there was wrong. And Charlie, you know, I understand. He sometimes we get overwhelmed with how pathetic their staged, practiced, debated mockery and deception is, even unto themselves. That's we Christians have the first thing we have is, oh wow, we know they're liars, we know they're fools, but boy, did they reach another level, you know, or they do it again, and wow, you just did it again, or wow, I got to hear the same thing over and over. So it becomes a little tiring for us. You know, as we get older, we hear the same lies repeated in a different style, like as if they thought of this as their own new thing. They continue, you know, trans and gay is they think it's a new modern thing when it's old as freaking dirt. Sodomy is old as dirt for these people.
Because it's all the culture wars for you, isn't it? The second someone actually tells you what you're doing, which is read.
Okay, he didn't tell him what he's doing. He's just accusing him of stupid stuff that has no bearing in truth, but there it is. Getting a private jet from the Qatar is like not a big deal. It's open. It's out in the open. He's not sliding it in the Clinton Foundation. He's not sliding it through the Ukraine funding. He's not sliding it through the NGO, the non-governmental organizations. He's not sliding it in the Biden relatives. It's just here. This out in the open. This is going to be the new Air Force One jet because our old Air Force One jet has not come in. It is delayed, and the jet we have now is 40 years old. There's nothing deceptive about this, and I know. And again, it's a waste of time even talking about it, but they're going to bring it up all over and over because remember the first Trump 4 years, every week they had a new horrific accusation against Trump. This one's going to get him. This one's going to destroy him. They had everything, and they couldn't get him until they closed down the America. They shut down the world with a fake pandemic. It was fake, and we know it was fake. I get it. There was a virus that they created in the lab in China that was a new thing, but just like any new virus, now this one was engineered, so it's maybe a little freaky deaky, but like any virus in the world, God has given us an immune system that can balance it out. Didn't have to shut down the world, and they shut it down and were able to change the elections, the process of the elections without legislation, which is total bullshit. There's no plague clause in our Constitution. There's no plague clause in the Constitution, and they knew about plagues when they wrote that Constitution. So this guy here thinks he's so smart by telling lies and everyone happily smiling along in his little smarmy twat little face and hair. I know he's gotten under my skin. It's worked. His vicious mockery has worked on me. Let's just continue on.
Can you calm down a little bit? Like, just a little bit? You're pounding the table, you're all over the place. No. You want me to go piece by piece? Or would you like me to talk slower?
I think you can...
Number one, Donald Trump is convening a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Joe Biden gave them armaments.
That's going well, isn't it?
It's going well. Can you not interrupt me?
Well.
I allowed you to talk on...
Yeah, see, they're gonna interrupt. They're gonna snide. They're gonna do anything to undermine you. They're gonna play a role. They're court jesters. And these guys are all taking it in because they want that vicious mockery. They want that humor. They want that their youth. They think they're immune to Islamic terror. They think that if they take a knee to Islamic terror, that they're going to be just fine. No, they're not. They're going to be the first to go. Islam will take out the left first. They hate the capitulators even more than they hate the Christians. Trust me. The ones that they get to manipulate and bring in their full caliphate regime, they'll kill them first because they know they're cowards. And us Muslims, us Christians, they'll kind of, they know we have a backbone and we have Christ on our side. But they'll enslave us too, of course. But they'll take these guys out. Oh yeah, easily. I'm saying if they're
famous for not interrupting.
If they're capitulators to Islam, they'll take them out.
I haven't interrupted a single person here today. Can I speak uninterrupted, actually? Okay. He is convening a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. I believe we will see an end to that war. Number two, he's actually talking to a...
See, so when Charlie Kirk was waiting to listen, he just stood there quietly and allowed him to berate and lie, right? And this guy is just playing the Kermit the Frog. He's playing like a puppet. He's doing his little thing. What is up with those lips? That takes work. And that hair, right? I just put my hair in a bun and I'm done for the day. But he's got to I don't know if he's using egg whites or his hairspray or he's got to sleep a certain way. Whatever he's doing there is just like, let me get this thing fluffed,
Iran and discouraging Israel to strike the interior of Iran and has stopped many...
Look at that. He can't stop. He can't stop mocking. You know why he can't stop mocking? Because God won't let him stop. He is put in a dark hole and he's going to stay there forever. And he's got to mock. He's got to.
Other international countries to do the same. Number three, can you give him credit for ending the Indian-Pakistan war?
Both of them said he didn't do that.
Well, hold on a second.
Let's go back.
No, that's important.
Wow. Both of them said he didn't do that, but let's go back.
Russia, Ukraine.
And that's important.
Can I speak now?
Yeah.
No. Why are you speaking? He barely even got to respond to anything.
Yes, but the Indian-Pakistan thing, you got to go deeper than that.
Let's go in order. Is a peace summit where the main person in question...
So if Trump didn't, by calling both of them and talking to them the next day of their bombing and attacking each other, what is this guy? Who did it then? Did the Muslims and the Hindus actually decide not to fight each other after attacking each other? Is that what he's saying? Is that his answer then? For that, he's just, let's move on to something else. Look at that. Look at those lips. That is just gross. That's gross. Right? Look at the lips. Ow. That looks like an anus to me. I guess I'm mocking and attempting vicious mockery. I'm not very good at it. Okay.
Russia doesn't show up. Is that a success, Mr. Kirk?
So, Putin doesn't show up for a talk. So, what was his complaint under Biden then, or under Obama when Russia took the Crimea, and then under Obama or Biden when the Ukraine war happened? Why is Trump trying to end a war and trying over and over, even when there has been setbacks? He's still trying. Even after all these setbacks, he's been in office 120 days. He's being attacked by the left. He's being attacked by the media. He's being attacked by China, attacked by Russia, attacked by everybody. The only people, and we're fighting back, thank God. And that's why Trump is always being attacked, because we're fighting back. If we didn't fight back and just conceded and worked along with the Democrats, they would, they would sabotage us and stab us in the back, but they would do it nicely. Now they're openly attacking, but they have to. Evil has to openly attack when good openly responds. We are responding to evil openly now, and I'm glad that we are, and I'm glad that Trump is instigating it. I'm glad that, and he was forced to as well. Remember his first term, he tried to work with them, and then when they did the whole lockdowns and corruption, I think that's God teaching him, hey, you can't work with evil. He had a saying, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. He had that And he said this during his first stump speeches in his first term about the serpent or the frog and the scorpion, where the scorpion convinces the frog to take him across the river. But the scorpion and the frog said, I guess that's fine because you would never sting me because we would both drown. But as they're going across, the scorpion still stings them and they both drown. And the frog asks, why did you sting me? We're both going to drown. And the scorpion says, I can't help it. I'm going to sting you. I am a scorpion. That's what I do. That's the Democrats. That's the left. That's the godless. God made them worship death. They worship death. They worship tyranny. They worship terror and slavery. Because the left is so powerful today in our culture, slavery is exploding across Africa, across the Middle East, China's already is a slave state. They worship slavery. They want to force us to capitulate on many things. The LGBTQ and the trans want to force us to believe in what they have, right? They're already pushing laws now to force us to believe in it. You're like, well, Christians do that too. Sure, I guess you're right. We do. We force you to have a marriage of a man and a woman with children, dedicate your lives to them. The things that we force you to do, we don't even force you to do. We create a society that is conducive to that. When America was at its height of 95 to 100% Christian, or not 100, but you know what I mean, we had laws against sodomy and against perversions and stuff, and we had laws that encouraged marriage. We didn't arrest you for not getting married. We didn't arrest you for not having children. We did arrest you though for pushing for sodomy and pushing perversity on people. Perversity being sexuality in public. So yeah, if you want to say we too push an agenda, fine. I'm okay with that. Now let's pick which one's better. Let's pick which one's better. And I will take Christianity. I will take it. I will take that with my children's under that laws than I will under Islam, which is polygamy and harems and slavery. I will take Christianity over atheism and leftism, which is a communist, Marxist, brutal regime of mind think. In Christianity, and also in Christianity, we can't force you to believe in Jesus Christ. So if you want to be an atheist in our land, or an agnostic, or some sort of mellow religion that doesn't force anything on anyone, we can't stop you. The only thing we can stop you from is doing it to others. Exploiting others, manipulating others into the things that you want. So if you want to believe in sodomy, go ahead, but just don't do it to others. And if you're doing it to each other and you're consenting, I don't know. We don't believe that you're just going to stop there. That's the problem. We don't believe you're going to stop there. We think you're going to keep going and trying pushing it on everybody. Anyway, and look at today.
I'm not even sure.
Not a success.
Well, again, these are ongoing negotiations, and it's a lot better than when your Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, went alongside our Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, to Istanbul and unnecessarily blew up a potential Russian peace deal, which has resulted in hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians, one of the great unnecessary wars of the modern era. Donald Trump believes in conversation and police through strength. He has been president for well over 120 to 130 days, and he has already ended a war between two nuclear conflicts of India-Pakistan. He has secured our own U.S. southern border while we were being invaded by foreign powers. And thirdly, he is brokering a potential settlement with Iran that will prevent a major escalation in the Middle East. And finally, it is very difficult, but I believe they'll get it done, that will finally see an end to the Russian-Ukrainian war.
I'm just going to disregard the enormous lies you just put.
Wow. Just disregard. He gets to just disregard it. Enormous lies. What a twat.
Out there about Russia and Ukraine. But do you really think leverage, negotiations work if you cut off all your leverage and scream at one party in the Oval Office? Don't you think that has just emboldened Russia? Because look at the approach. Putin thinks so much of your glorious president, he can't even be asked to show up. You have elected, or help elect, somebody who is at best an idiot and at worst is deeply corrupt.
At best an idiot or deeply corrupt. That's what he's saying about Trump. At best an idiot and corrupt. I mean, I understand that potential for Biden. I understand that his family, who have no international education or background, becoming these movers and shakers for international funds and stuff. So yeah, for him to just say that outright like that, it's just like, why are we even debating? You have an agenda. You're a twat. You want to destroy America and the West. You don't care about it. You're very short, so I can understand that. You know, I do want to rebuke this guy. I want to mock him back. You know, I want to mock him in the sense that he's just lying. He's lying about what he wants to say or what he's trying to say, which is, I just want to destroy him. The West in America. Watch. You keep watch.
Okay, again, so Trump and Putin had a 2-hour phone call today. You'll acknowledge that's a good thing. The pursuit of peace can sometimes be a winding road, and it's a lot better than sending hundreds of billions of dollars further into the killing fields of eastern Ukraine, something that tragically both the UK government and the US government has been unnecessarily supporting for a couple of years. President Trump wants to see a brokerage, an ending of this settlement. I pray we can get it. It's very complicated because of the mess that Joe Biden left, which was an active kinetic war with a nuclear power sending American-made missiles into the interior of Russia. So President Trump has already ended a war. He's ended an invasion. He's only 130 days into this. And I believe, we do not know. At this point, we are merely speculating, which I think we should not spend our time doing that, because eventually one of us will be right. I believe we'll be right, and I believe we'll see an end to this war.
Can we just talk about 100 billion's worth of weapons? Because you dodged my question on what was going on in the Middle East, where Trump has just sent...
Really? We were just talking about the Russian thing. How was it dodged? He's being attacked this whole time repeatedly. The guy's interrupting him. How do you dodge when you're constantly being interrupted and then more accusations are thrown at you? So that's his whole like premise here. He just wants to mock you, undermine you, and he doesn't even want to he doesn't actually want to learn anything. He doesn't want to learn anything. He just wants to attack Charlie and the West and Western ideas and Christianity. I mean, he won't come out and openly say he hates Christianity, but he does, right?
Signed enormous arms contracts with Saudi Arabia and with Qatar. And
so Saudi Arabia and Qatar, they're just not known for, I understand they're oppressive, they're Islamic, but they're not known for just outwardly genociding other nations or conquering other nations. And there's sort of and we have like bases there and we've done some work for them, blah, blah, blah. I don't like Saudi Arabia. I've told my daughters, do not ever date a Muslim or a Saudi Arabian, especially. And I told them about the whole thing and I've known someone personally. My daughter's, one of her friends disappeared along with her sisters because of the Saudi Arabian father. And we didn't know about it until, because they were little girls and we hadn't seen them in a couple of years. And then when we did finally see the mother, we learned this horrifying story about, that. And of course she had lawyers and nothing happened. And like, she's literally rebuilding her life with no daughter. Their daughter's gone and there's nothing she could do about it. And there's nothing we can do about it. And he took them to Saudi Arabia and disappeared with them. And that's like, I don't even know the numbers, but it's in the tens of thousands of women who've been victimized by Saudi Arabian men like that with children. And I knew this when I was a kid growing up. This was happening. So I don't have any love for Saudi Arabia or Qatar, but what I want is for us to have peace there so that we as Christians and missionaries can actually go there again. In the 80s, I remember as a kid that the Middle East, we actually could go there. We did a lot of visiting and touring and work in those places. Never attacked, never terrorized. Iran was starting to disseminate, but it came under full blown when Jimmy Carter was president, and he let that happen. So that's when terrorism actually begun. I believe it was like full blown anyway. But in the brotherhoods and all that. But before then, Americans can go like with impunity or whatever to tour, and especially in Egypt. We filmed, Raiders of the Lost Ark and all these things. So Muslims actually loved us back then. And I just watched Khartoum, the movie Khartoum, which is with Charlton Heston. Really fascinating about an Islamic thing. And they had tons of Muslims work, as soldiers in these battle scenes for the Christian against a Muslim, false prophet or whatever, played by Laurence Olivier. And, then they had these huge battles. And they even had like good Muslims working with Charlton Heston, the Christian. My point being that if we could bring peace back to that area and counter the Islamic terrorist ideology that is even in Saudi Arabia, maybe we could start bringing Jesus back to the area and bringing calmness to the area and peace. But not obviously, but the left is empowering terror. Since Jimmy Carter, the left has been empowering terrorism. That's why I don't really personally go after Islam. Islam, and I've seen throughout history, has only been powerful when Christianity is weak. And we are weak not because of Islam, we are weak because of the left, because of twats like this who berate us into thinking that we should be ashamed of the actions of Christians in the past and of Christians and Israel today. Let's continue.
I noticed you ignored the fact that this might have had anything to do with the blatant corruption going on through the Trump coin and going on through giving the very competent sons of Donald Trump billions of investment from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. This is
So I couldn't find that billions of investments. I don't, I asked AI to search for it, and he said there's no articles on it they could find. Now, could they be? Yeah, I mean, maybe. That's what they do. That's what they have been doing before Trump even came into office. Like, ugh, God, it looks like an anus. His mouth looks like an anus, like a rectum. But there, I don't know what he's trying to say here, except that Trump is evil. Trump is bad. Trump is bad. Orange man bad. Orange man bad. Orange man bad.
This is something that is directly embroiling Americans into.
And Trump has a history in America of accomplishing things. He is and was an American icon, just like any other American icon here, Whoopi Goldberg or Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan, or I'm trying to think of someone famous that has sort of moved the industries. Other people like that. And he, his Apprentice TV show was it was a fascinating show, teaching about work and marketing and salesmanship. And it was great. And it was the #1 show. He did that. He built some of the greatest buildings in New York. He rescued the skating rink in New York from the government delays and corruption. And he's been in movies, and he was a hero of the rap stars, and he was every politician went to him for their grift, their bribe or their promise to him for something. And he knew it, and he knew the game, and he's exposed it as far as the political game.
Conflict, but it's important.
And he's risked everything. He's risked everything. He's risked his family, his fortune, against the Democrats, and thankfully he's held strong, and he's got enough people to back him and protect him too. He's risked his own life twice at the minimum. His family are threatened.
Killing many innocent people. Those nations have been known to terrorize innocent civilian populations.
Does Hamas terrorize innocent people, like their own people? Does Hamas terrorize their own Gazans? Like, if there's a Gazan who says, I don't believe in Hamas and I want to be a political opponent of Hamas and start a political party against Hamas, is that fine? I don't think he's going to criticize that. I just don't think he might do a little nod, but his blanket accusations of Trump and of the West and corruption is sorcery. It's sorcery. It's mockery. It's just his little desire for power, his little hair, give his hair some more power. I don't know.
So if you're coming to me and you're objecting to America selling weaponry, why are you defending shilling for the Saudis?
Well, hold on. One is sending weaponry, one is purchasing. Secondly, you do know that the biggest purchase that was announced was commercial airliner 737, $100 billion. You've heard of Qatar Airways. They purchased $100 billion of commercial airways. You are right, there were some weapons contracts. But I guess the question is, would you rather have Saudi Arabia buy weapons from America or China?
I'd rather they not have American weaponry at cut price rates.
I disagree.
Let's talk about
at cut price rates. He just got to do that. He's got to bring that in. He's not going to criticize China, because China doesn't have Christ. Actually, they do. They have like almost 100 million Christians, and they might even don't tell them that they might even change. I mean, I think they have more hardcore Christians in China than they do in America. Shh, don't tell them. And the Chinese Politburo and the Marxists are kind of freaked out about it too, which is kind of crazy. And those 100 million Christians are like totally suffering under the Marxist regime, and I wonder if some of them are in the actual Marxist government. But don't tell this guy that, because you might want to fight that too. You might want to expose those Christians there and their hypocrisy of being a Christian and their communist Marxism.
Qatar for a second.
Okay, fine.
You mentioned Qatar. You've been talking a lot about Hamas and the evils of Hamas. Can I ask you, who's the main funder of Hamas?
Well, the Palestine
State?
Well, the West actually funds Hamas.
Which state?
Well, Iran funds.
No.
Also,
where are the Hamas leaders?
And also
where are the Hamas
Qatar
leaders,
funds Hamas.
Yes.
It is a combination
So is
of
this a state we
international
should
relief
have a
organizations.
400 million jet with the President of the United States on it?
Hold on. First of all, it was not given to him personally. I understand the optics of it, but it was not given to him personally. It was given to the U.S. government. And under that standard, no U.S. government should ever receive any gifts from any foreign countries whatsoever. It's not given to him personally and not a violation of the.
Then why is he trying to transfer it to his personal library? He is.
Actually, okay, that, again,
He's thinking about it if they don't want it. If the next president wants it, then he's not going to get it. I mean, we have an Air Force One airplane in the Ronald Reagan Library, which is pretty cool. And I'm sure Trump has seen it. And I've been in it twice. It's kind of neat. It's really small too. It's kind of amazing. It's really fascinating walkthrough. If you guys ever been to Reagan Library in Simi Valley here in LA, outside of LA, it was pretty. I didn't really care to go. My mom wanted to go, and I didn't really care to go. And I was like, whatever, I'll just go. And I got nostalgia. Just pretty a really good nostalgia out of it. I was pretty. It was nice, and I went twice. Then I went after that a few months later with another family member. But it was. So the Air Force One there, we walked through an Air Force One there. It's really interesting, and they had a helicopter too. So this little snide guy here, what Trump is saying is that maybe 4-8 years down the road, if they come up with a new Air Force One, he could take that one and put it in the thing. And he was just getting. It was just a. It was a talk. It wasn't. It's not like he didn't put it in an executive order. He didn't make it a law.
He sent out a statement. This is way too in the weeds.
You're lying.
You want to keep on going it? We can.
It's a fundamental moral principle.
Okay, so
Fundamental moral principle. Interesting. Fundamental moral principle on what? Based on what? What is his fundamental moral principle coming from? Satan? From Allah? Where fundamental moral principle about getting a free jet so that they can convert it to Air Force One so that the president and presidents can use it. Fundamental moral, that's what he's fundamental moral principle of that. He's being fed, spoon-fed, his little silver spoon-fed lies, and he loves those lies. More.
Under that fundamental moral principle, then, can you acknowledge, though, that President Trump is getting more done in a less period of time than any president we've seen, while our prior president did not even know what year he got elected? You understand the contrast here?
Whataboutism again. I'm not a defender of...
Whataboutism.
No, I'm not saying...
Look at that. I'm not a defender of evil. That's been evil and doing evil.
President Trump is far better than...
Yeah, he's deciding what accusations he can do, what fundamental moral principles he can do. But when Kirk tries to bring up the fundamental moral principles overall, no.
Defend the person you spent millions to elect.
I will defend every day of someone who ends an invasion.
That's all you do, is
brings down the price of oil.
No, you do,
who is revitalizing the American economy, who's brokering peace, who's stopped the potential nuclear war, who is bringing Iran to the table and bringing Russia to the table. Someone who does not want armed conflicts.
Look at that guy. He's just fidgety. It's creepy. He's got some sort of fidgety. Something's wrong with him.
With the greatest powers of our time, I will defend...
I guess it's being up here and being excited and thrilled to attack. I don't know. Maybe it's that. I don't know.
That endlessly.
Well, living
what are you defending?
in a fantasy world of
You're living in a fantasy world
your own creation.
Of your own creation.
So it's quite hard
You
to
can
engage
say that,
with.
but then disprove it.
So it's quite hard to engage you. I'm just like, wow. I'm just trying to work out this character. I'm gonna have to use it as one of my villains in my For the Lord RPG. You're living in a fantasy world of your own creation, so it's quite hard to engage you. He sounds like he's from the 19th century royal court, and their acerbic wit. I guess that's English.
Let's check on how Trump is doing.
When you're in a comfortable little environment, that's probably your style. Look at this dude. I think he's like, these guys are like, this guy's a fucking idiot,
In terms of diplomacy. Look. With the war in the Middle East, do you think it was a defensible decision to tell the Israelis you wanted Trump Gaza to agree for Israel to invade the Gaza Strip and to continue to murder thousands of innocent children and civilians in a pointless war?
So here we are again, coming. And I think he started with this too, or did he? I Anyway, he wants to bring up this. October 7th was a genocide, and the war that the Israel responded with was a just war. Period. You can't have a nation who bombs you and then on one of your holiest days sneaks in and just starts slaughtering your people. Their entire army that did that of terrorists were supported by the civilians there, by the factories, the tunnels, the hidden school, ammo dumps, the ammo supplies depots in the schools and hospitals. The UN, I think, had some buildings right there which were covering some of their stuff. This guy is going to defend the brutal attack and terrorizing rape, and then when we begin a war to respond to it, where you do a war to win. You don't do a war to appease someone like this. You don't do a war to appease this hairdo. Okay, if you do, then we will lose that war. We have to stop appeasing the left when we go to war. We have to go to war to win. When you go to war to win, you kill and you shoot through hostages. You shoot through hostages because if you don't shoot through hostages, they will put up more hostages and more hostages. When you shoot through their first wave of hostages, they will stop using hostages. When you shoot through their children and kill them and their warriors, they will not lift up their kids anymore because their kids are a little too heavy for them. Do you understand? But if twats like this get to snidely do their vicious mockery and have it affect us, and then have everyone shut me down or shut Charlie down, then the Muslims will continually sacrifice their children, and they will continually use Jews. They will kidnap Jews to do it. They will kidnap him to do it. Oh, totally use this guy. This guy's lighter than their kids. How small and diminutive he is. Look at his soft shoulders. Yeah, I'm gonna mock this guy because he's winning against me. He's totally getting under my skin.
Is that in America's interest? Is that in humanity's interest?
Well, first of all, you should know something about Trump. There's something he's.
So the one thing about Charlie is I wish he would know that these facts. Genocide and terrorism, which the left worships and will take the knee to, they never criticize genocide and terrorism. They only criticize when Christians or Israel responds with war. That's the only time they criticize the killing of people. The children dying. They don't murder. They obviously don't criticize the murder of unborn babies, which is you see 1 million a year in the U.S. and 2 or 3 times that across the world. In England, in Israel, whatever, there's thousands of unborn babies being killed. They don't care about the murder of those children that are completely defenseless and have no guilt in them whatsoever. Did not support Hamas. Did not build the bombs or hide the ammo in their schools. These children are completely innocent being murdered. They don't care about that. What they care about is stopping Christ, stopping Christians, stopping us from doing the just wars against evil. They want evil to flourish, and they always attack the good.
If you realize with Trump over the last 10 years, he is quite the social media user and uses hyperbolic language at times. But let me ask you, in the conflict of Israel versus Hamas, who's the good guy?
I believe both Hamas and the Israeli government are evil, but I think also...
But he's going to attack Israel. He's going to say a half-truth. They can say half-truths, and they're really good at saying half-truths, but they have to go to the lie, or not say the truth about the lie or whatever, to continue their lie.
There is no justification.
Are they equally?
There is no justification for the murder and mutilation of thousands of innocent people and children in a futile...
Let's zero in on it.
Look at that.
There's no justification, Mr. Kirk, for invading hospitals, for bombing innocent populations and dragging out a war which is damaging Israel and the West's security.
There is absolute justification, absolute justification for what they're doing, and they're bombing, and there's absolute justification for bombing the schools and the hospitals, because that's where Islam holds their stuff. And also the reason they do that is for twats like this. They want twats like this to scream and gnash their teeth and jump in like a little child that he's doing there. Look at his little jumpy.
No justification, Mr. Kirk. Futile.
Look at that.
The murder and mutilation of thousands of innocent people and children. It's a futile...
Look at that little jump.
No justification.
It's a child right there. It's a golem, a Smeagol. He's got this. He's got the psychosis, the dual personality, whatever that's called. But I just, man, See, he's got to go to that. He's got to. You know why he's got to go to that? Because God wrote him that way. God wrote him to be evil and wicked, and he's got to stay on it. And he's addicted to it. I mean, unless he's one of the elect, which I doubt and pray he isn't. Okay. I pray God gives him what he deserves, and doesn't give me what I deserve because I have grace. Okay, so maybe grace is what he deserves. I'll pray for him. Oh no, this guy just maybe in a year I'll rethink praying for this twat. But right now,
Mr. Kirk, for invading hospitals, for bombing innocent populations.
So that's what Islam wants. They know that if they put the bombs and the tricks of the terrorism inside the hospitals and schools and get them killed and put their children up, twats like this with that type of sphincter mouth will scream at the West and weaken us even more. Now, this is not what I question. I question us. Why are we letting that face have power over us? Whew. Let us not, okay? Let us not allow twats with their vicious mockery to have power over us. This guy is an idiot, okay? He's an idiot. He's a fool, according to God.
And dragging out a war which is damaging Israel and the West's security.
You've made that point, but
it's not a point; it's a moral truth, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. It was also
moral truth. What is his moral truth? Means that he has a foundation. What is his foundation? Is it what is his foundation? Paganism? It's not Jesus Christ. The atheist, agnostic, left, the evolutionists, they so stand on this high ground of moral truth, and then as soon as you ask them what it is, they avoid it.
Also moral truth that the war started because 1,300 Jews were killed and 200 were taken hostage. And when you declare war on Israel, expect a firestorm in reaction. Let me finish, I let you talk. Israel at its...
So Charlie's really getting, unhinged, and, I wouldn't even last this long, so I appreciate what he's doing. It's tough, and he's going up against a bunch of freaking pagans here. The rest of it, I'm not gonna do the rest of it, but I listened to the whole thing, and it was tough. Because they're like this kid, this twat. Some of them were a little more polite. Some of them, one girl in there was all about fighting for feminism, and her feminism just was attacking Christianity. And she had a motor mouth, like of art, just like terms and things like she must have been practicing with and taught at her classes over and over and over with the professors. I could just tell it was a very theatrical, professorial, practicing, rapid fire. It was like, it was very creepy that way. Like, there was just no, in her rapid fire feminism, there was just no like humility or calm or retrospect or thought process, just against him, and accusations. And I got this one, I got that one,
holiest day of the calendar year besides Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, Samat Torah, the 50-year anniversary of the 6-day.
Look at that guy. He's just as he's talking about what happened to the Jews when they were attacked on their holiest days. That day was a day where the families. I remember seeing an image of, I'm glad I didn't see the real footage, but I remember seeing some camera footage where they were walking into a home that was shot up, and there was a big dog just laying there frozen in death, and I could tell it was just shot to hell in its torso, and it was frozen in like a death shock at being shot up. So these big men came into their home and just started shooting the hell out of the family and that dog. Now the people were removed at that point. The dead people, the blood was still there, and the dog was just, it was a big dog too, but the way it looked was just sheer terror. And then just sort of blown and frozen in this weird position. And yeah, he just, how dare Israel respond with a war and a war against evil. Evil wants children and women to die. They want them to die. They want to use them to die. They want to put them up there as sacrifice. It gives them more power because they know they have twats that will use that in their spells in this vicious mockery.
War. On Shabbat, Hamas invaded Israel, deciding to go recklessly to music concerts, to homes, to kibbutzes, and taking 200 plus hostages. They knew what they were doing. In one of the most cloistered urban environments on the planet, 2 million people live in a place where it's impossible to wage war. Impossible. Where they wear civilian clothing, they violate every tenet of the
Yeah, every Islamic terror group doesn't have a uniform. So right there, they've broken the Geneva Convention. They cannot be treated fairly when you attack. When you openly attack, you look civilian. They shot people who just drove. Imagine, I saw the footage of Jewish families in little cars, just little cars. You know, they had little roadblocks. They had to go to this and then go to the next one and whatever till they get to their homes. But they showed where they would just, the family was driving up at 6, 7 a.m. You know, we got to go, honey. We got to go to this thing. It was and the terrorists were there at the gates, the roadblock gates, and they would just come up in AK-47, just blow them. You know, the wife is in this side of them, and then there's people in the back, probably children or young adults, and just shoot them all. The guy trying to reverse and just slumping over. I was like, you're just trapped in this car with bullets flying into you and your wife and your children in the back. And that was just decided to do. They decided to do that, right? There's no war going on. There's no response. It's just, we're going to do this. We're going to go around shooting people. Remember the one where they threw the grenades in the bomb shelter where all the concert goers were crowded in? And it was just like an 8 foot by 8 foot room of concrete. And then the Muslims just would, and one after the other explosions would blow up, 6 to 8 people at a time, just shredding them. And then throw in another grenade, and 6 to 8 more people shredded, and they're all freaking out. And they're waiting for the next grenade to go off. And I think if only a few survived. Some of them had phones on, because I saw the phone footage. That's what this twat is defending, the gnashing of his teeth, the puckering of his rectum. He is wanting Israel to not... He wants that October 7th to happen again. Because if you're going to allow Gaza and Hamas to survive that sort of genocidal terror, then if you're going to allow them to survive, they're going to do it again. And that's what he wants. That's what he wants them to do it again. He wants them to do it again because that's in his heart. Death is what they worship. If y'all could tell me what verse that is, I can't remember, but I know it's in there. It's really amazing in the Bible. The ones that don't love God will worship death. They choose death. Death is their tool, whether it's hostages, whether it's the unborn, whether it's old people getting sick, lonely people that are autistic. Death is their tool. Drinking, drugs, sexual diseases, exploitation of each other. Death is fine to them. Tyranny. They all inevitably go to dictatorship, Marxism, communism, dictatorships, emperors. They inevitably will take a knee to terror and to whoever kills more, that's who they will worship. Paganism, Democrats, whoever.
Geneva Convention, and the IDF, when they do something right, they get no credit. When they do life-saving surgeries of a Gazan child, they get no credit. When they drop leaflets, they get no credit. But when...
Yeah, so the IDF has a bomb that will actually, or first bomb that hits the building and ticks, warning the residents to get out because the next bomb that comes is going to blow up that building. They have things like that they do. They don't just throw 600 rockets into your land like the Muslims do and Hamas does and the other side. The other side of Israel, they do that as well. They don't just send in their terrorists to slaughter you and your families. They actually try to warn them, send leaflets in and warn them, move, get out. And I've heard it. The Gazans say the Hamas won't let them get out. They won't let them leave. And this twat right here is all for that. He's all for it. All for it. He's all for it. He's all for the murder of children because it's his strongest argument for what he wants, to take a knee to Islam. I think Muslims should know about this guy, that he's going to work for them. I think they should know.
And they happen to bomb a place where they are operating their military from, which we now know from.
I think Muslims should have a meeting with him and discuss what he should be doing, because he totally supports them. So I don't remember this guy's name, Donald or something, from some university, but I think that Muslims should contact him and say, hey, let's work together. Let's have you work for us.
From third-party verified sources, hundreds of Hamas military operations are in mosques, schools, and hospitals. I'm sorry, the country where they were living in relative peace on October 6th, that all of a sudden we had a war, and Hamas started the war. And I don't see people that were really upset about the 2 million Germans that were killed in World War II, civilians. A tragic truth of war is that civilians die. I don't like it, and you don't like it. And they brought it upon themselves. The only operation and entity to blame is the leadership of Hamas, not the Israeli government, for fighting this defensive war after they were invaded.
I'm no defender of the terrible pogrom that was launched against Jews on that day. But the justification for the death of innocents cannot be an infinite cycle of bloodlust.
It's not an infinite cycle. It will be if you have your way. It will be if you have your way. If Israel can do what it needs to do, it will not be infinite. It will end. But you don't want it to end. If you don't let Israel completely annihilate Hamas and then take over the Gaza Strip, or have Trump take it over, and then the people of Gaza can have a peaceful life. If they put down their arms for a little while and start some semblance of a real government. But you don't want that. You want this terror to continue, because if you say that Israel cannot effectively destroy Hamas and their power structure in Gaza, then you're saying, good job, do it, we'll swat you around a little, and then that's it, and we'll let you continue doing what you do.
Cannot be killing tens of thousands of innocent civilians with a war with no end in sight.
It's no end in sight because of people like you pushing for this sort of. You're their shield too. Their children and women are their shields. Their hospitals and mosques and schools are their shields. But the only reason they are is for people like you. They're killing their children for you. They're not killing them. They're not putting their guns in there because it's a good strategy. They're not putting them in there because it's a way of defeating the IDF. The only reason they have their women and children mixed in with their military, and there's plenty of space for them not to, because they could come out and just fight IDF. They could just come out, put uniforms on, and fight the IDF. Okay, they could do that. But that's not who they're trying to get to. They're trying to get to you. So I think the Muslims should contact you and work with you directly on these issues and have you do their bidding. I just think that sounds about right. I think that's it. If you're interested in that, why don't you contact me, and then I'll let them know, for you, that they should contact you directly. Now they're not gonna work with me. I'm a crazy Christian, but you, I think they could work with. I think that if you really truly believe in this Palestinian thing, I think we should get you in contact with some of them directly. Maybe you should go visit them, in Hamas and Gaza and Strip, and work with them, to push the agenda, and they could show you all the footage of all the dead people they have, and maybe walk you around in it too. So you could take some great pictures there and video, and get some crying women, and destroy the West. Sounds like a good idea.
People who are not complicit in those atrocities.
So who's complicit and isn't? Can you determine that? You're going to decide that? Because Hamas does not want you to know, right? They don't want you to know who's innocent and who's guilty in their military terrorist strategy. They're not going to let you know. They're going to do everything they can to not let you know. If there are innocents in Gaza, the Hamas terrorists are not going to let you know who they are they? I wonder if they could threaten everyone there so that they wouldn't let you know. Would you care?
Cannot be bombing hospitals which children use. It cannot be bombing hospitals.
Do children use abortion clinics, which you fully support?
in which cancer patients are dying.
Cancer patients. That's wow. People who got to get their warts removed. You can't bomb those either.
And starving in there. The deaths that have been inflicted, nobody knows the true toll, but somewhere between 50 and 100,000 people lie dead under the rubble. And what is left for Gaza except for to continue to suffer under Hamas? Because it turns out Netanyahu's political strategy has not worked. It has entrenched Hamas within the territories. To be a
the reason that the Hamas and the reason they're so oppressed there isn't because of Israel. It's because of Islam. Why don't they just go to Syria or the Jordan, which used to be Christian and now it's completely oppressive? I mean, Lebanon, rather. Lebanon or Jordan or Egypt. None of them want them. Why? Why don't you bring up that? The 60 other Islamic states don't want the Gazans. Why? Well, the main reason is because they want to destroy Israel too. In the heart of their Quran and in the heart of their hatred of Jesus Christ and God, they want Israel and Jews dead. And that's the biblical freaking conspiracy of all time. Islam is, in my opinion, Islam is the satanic version, the satanic response to Judaism and Christianity. Although,
a Christian, I would have thought, Mr. Kirk, would never have involved suggesting that the price for an atrocity must be an infinite cycle of bloodlust.
It's not. Where did infinite come from? I mean, it started October 7th. It can end, but it's not going to end with people like you, because if you're still claiming this stuff about murdered children, they're going to go, oh, we got to do more. The Hamas are going to get more murdered children. They're going to get as many people to die as they can, so that people like you will continually spread this and spout off your little tirade, your little mocking, scoffing, your little vicious mockery.
That innocent people and the young population must be killed.
The young population are the militia that are the terrorists that are killing, that want to kill more Jews and wipe them off from the river to the sea. I like how you say innocent there. Innocent of what? Innocent. Your moral, I like how you have the moral foundations, your innocence, your purity tests, but what's your foundation for any of this? You're an atheist. You don't have Jesus Christ in your heart. You're an atheist, so you can decide whatever you want. And it sounds to me like you've decided Allah is the foundation of your truth. Allah, the destruction of the West, hatred for Trump, that's your foundation of truth.
To avenge some kind of providential quest. How can
some kind of providential quest? He says things and then just boom, just starts going off again.
Yourself a Christian? Well,
how can you call yourself a Christian?
I want to make sure we get our moral clarity straight before we proceed. No one likes what's happening in Gaza. No one with a heart or a soul or a mind likes when kids die. But you must understand who started the conflict so that you could end it correctly. And until Hamas brokers an unconditional surrender, of which they are unwilling to do, they could release the hostages and drop their weapons and their lives would be spared. Instead, they are using children of Gaza as cannon fodder, financed by the Iranian mullahs and dragging the entire world into this conflict. So I don't even know what we're debating at this point, other than I believe that Israel, I believe the facts, Israel was unconditionally attacked on October 7th. They're responding in kind. And I would just ask you a very simple moral question. How should Israel have responded?
Not with the blanket carpet bombing the city.
Okay, that's a lie right there. They didn't blanket bomb. They're tactical. They're using intelligence. And it's very difficult, right? Because the Hamas is going to hide in their tunnels and under schools, and they're going to be lied to. And then people like this are going to constantly berate them and constantly use media and videos to attack them. There's no blanket bombing going on. They don't have blanket bombs. But the Hamas do have blanket bombs that they throw and lob, and so does the other side, who's actually attacking as well. They're being attacked on both sides. I can't remember what the name of their group is. The one on the other side by the Jordan or whatever. But they're being attacked on both sides by blanket bombs, literally blanket bombs that have no. They're literally being attacked by this guy is like.
Not with bombing hospitals. Of course, some kind of military operation.
Some kind of military operation
necessary, but not murder on this scale.
It's not murder. Genocide is murder. War is not murder. The Gazans could easily surrender right now. Everyone come out with their arms up. Just come on, the arms up. Then the IDF can figure out who are the actual terrorists and separate them out. You know, it's going to be hard because they all lie. And even the innocent ones are going to play along like they're part of the guilty or whatever. They're going to, you know, overrun the system or whatever. It's an entire manipulation. Islam is about manipulation too. It's got a, I believe, taqiyya. You know, they have a term for brutally raping women out in the public. It's gamakash or something like that. There's an actual punish them with open rape term in Islam. I have it somewhere, but whatever. They actually have a term for it. Islam has a term, and they all know it too. To brutally, openly rape, especially white women, in the public with gangs, and they have harems which rape women through their gangs. And they've done it in the medieval times. They would enslave the women in massive groups, and then have them spread out amongst the soldiers, and they would continually rape them over and over, the slave armies. And this twat wants to call for the sad innocentness of it all.
There is no justification for what is happening with the
There is a justification.
enormous death toll that is being produced.
Enormous. He doesn't know. I mean, it is pretty big. Probably not big enough, though. Because they're still wanting to do terrorism against him. There's still some sort of structure there that is still complaining and fighting and terrorizing Israel.
I really cannot see how you come here and you have the gall to lecture us on Christian morality. And
Well, what else is he going to lecture you on? I mean, this is a whole open debate thing. I mean, what else do we have? And by the way, we Christians, everyone is a hypocrite, including Christians. Everyone. That's our religious belief. And this guy thinks that he's got some sort of moral foundation when he has none. And he thinks he can judge on some pedestal. What's his pedestal? Atheism?
and then sit here and justify the murder of thousands of civilians. And is it working, Mr. Kirk? Is Hamas dismantled?
I've never said that.
Well, that's weird because, right, doesn't he complain about how we in the Bible and God has all these wars that, you know, slaughter the innocents, and they complain about that, but then he's saying we're hypocrites for saying we can do that, right? They always complain about in the Old Testament how they had these campaigns of war, which I totally think are fine. They complain, but here he's saying, "Oh, how dare you be a Christian and come here and say that?" And and Christ did say that we had to carry a sword. We would have to because there would be tough times ahead. He wasn't going to be with us the whole time.
Well, no,
this is your whole
in
thing.
war. These are called casualties of a war.
We're going to need to stop bringing this
again.
to close.
I'm not going to justify every military maneuver of a 100,000 person army.
Look at that! Look, what the hell was that? He turned around and did a little eyebrow dance. Hi. What he just said? He's just saying, "How dare you, justify slaughter?" And then he turns around and goes, "That's atheism for you, right?"
Instead, what I will do is I'll be clear that there is a good guy and there is a bad guy. I honestly...
Isn't that the morality of a child?
Well, instead... Well, hold on.
Look at that. Morality of a child. If you can't have the morality of a child, you're lost. You're this.
It's interesting you say that, because a child who knows that Israel is the good guy, Hamas is bad, has a lot more wisdom than a student like yourself at Cambridge University.
I will be glad that I will not have been somebody who has defended the genocide of the Palestinian people.
Yeah, he is defending it. He's literally defending the genocide of them because he wants it to, because Muslims want that to be effective. They want it as a tool to affect the war and their situation, and to weaken the West, and to weaken Christians, and to empower twats like this. That's what Islam wants. They want to kill their own people to empower twats like this because they can't fight openly. See, that's the thing. Muslims cannot fight openly against Christians and apparently the IDF. They can't openly fight them on a fair open field battlefield. They lose. They can't win. And that's why I don't really personally go after Muslims. It's twats like this that I know is what's causing the West to fall, or our weakness, our lack of evangelism and church planning in the West is because of twats like this. We allow twats to have this kind of power. The court jesters, like the Daily Show guy, Jon Stewart. He's a court jester. He's like the top pinnacle of these court jesters, and they mock and scoff, vicious mockery, to weaken the West. It's in their heart.
And I think you will have to reckon one day that you have reckoned with.
Interesting. I want to close on this. So can you tell me what African country is currently ongoing a civil war?
Believe it or not, I know about Sudan because I'm not an idiot.
How about?
And Sudan is, I believe, Muslims, right, terrorizing and wiping out Christians. Right? I mean, I don't know. I don't actually. I'm not totally sure on that one.
What Southeast Asian country has an ethnic cleansing going on right now?
Myanmar.
Good. And you have strong
Myanmar,
opinions on both sides?
And that one's they're clearing out the Christians. Yeah, they're wiping out the Christians, and then probably other groups as well. But the Christians in Myanmar are being destroyed. Yeah.
Like you.
Right. Sudan is. Let me look that up. I think Sudan is a Muslim north. I mean, I know Nigeria is definitely right. So let me go check it out right now. Well, obviously we can see that the strong force is the Muslims, and they're wiping out everybody else. So I'm assuming that Christians are the majority of the people that they're wiping out. I mean, I've heard a bit about this, but I haven't really been following it that much. But anyway, so let me get back to this.
An effort to be informed about foreign policy and to come to conclusions. You are a culture warrior. I believe when everything is done, Mr. Kirk, people will see you and the people you've supported as corrupt, as selling the country out to the lowest bidder, and of doing irreparable damage to a country I'm sure we all deep down love.
The difference.
I think you will have to reckon with that.
Difference
one, Mr. Kirk.
is when.
You got a huge applause for that. Impressive.
The difference is when we get our way, we'll still have a country, and your country will be a third world hellhole. You've heard of Qatar Airways.
So if you...
Yeah, he wants to be in an Islamic world, I guess. I want to get this guy's name again. I mean, I'm not going to follow him or anything. I just kind of...
Parties in the Middle East.
Is from Sammy McDonald from St John's College.
Sammy McDonald?
For today is from Sammy McDonald from... And the final question that we've got time for today is from Sammy McDonald from St John's College.
Sammy McDonald from St John's College. I think he should work with Islam. I think he's going to be a really good spokesperson for Hamas. He hates the West. He hates what we stand for. He should work with them. I hope they contact him. So that's, it's just really, Charlie Kirk was going through over an hour of this, getting berated, getting these constant lies and accusations against the West, against him. He's written 4 successful books. He works on this full time, doing stuff. Obviously you've seen his videos. So he's been great, but that guy was really he definitely got under my skin, and I just wanted to do my little rip roar there. I haven't done any videos in a while, but just thought I'd do this one, or I'd try to do some more. But yeah, anyway, the game of life, everybody. Roll holy dice.